On the morning of August 6, 1945, the world was forever changed as the first atomic bomb, Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. This was not merely a new chapter in warfare, but a brutal new reality for humanity, one that would alter the course of history forever. The event marked the first time in human history that such a devastating weapon was unleashed, and only 3 days later, on August 9th, the city of Nagasaki would face the same fate with the detonation of Fat Man. The events surrounding the bombings are inextricably tied to the development of nuclear science, a field that had emerged in the early 20th century with groundbreaking research by figures like Marie Curie and Albert Einstein. It was through their relentless work that the path was paved for the creation of nuclear weapons and ultimately the horrors witnessed in Japan. The purpose of these bombings, according to President Harry S. Truman, was to end the war swiftly and forcefully, but the aftermath would reveal a different reality, one filled with unimaginable suffering and human cost. As Colonel Paul Tibbets piloted the B-29 bomber Enola Gay over Hiroshima, the world witnessed the release of a weapon with unparalleled destructive power. The explosion instantly vaporized thousands of lives and caused devastation on a scale that was almost impossible to fathom. Yet it wasn't just the immediate blast that caused harm. Radiation sickness, burns, and long-term health issues would claim the lives of many survivors in the years that followed. For those who were caught within the blast radius, the destruction was swift and brutal. People were instantly vaporized by the intense heat, while buildings, trees, and even granite stones were melted into liquid. The sheer scale of the devastation left many survivors unable to recognize the cities they once knew. J. Robert Oppenheimer, known as the father of the atomic bomb, famously quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," encapsulating the magnitude of what had been unleashed. But could humanity fully comprehend the weight of these words? As we examine the immediate and lasting effects of the atomic bomb on the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the question becomes more pressing. How did humanity come to this point? And what would be the long-term impact of this unprecedented act of destruction? The dawn of the atomic age can be traced back to the 19th century, when a small group of scientists began to unlock the mysteries of atomic particles. One of the pivotal moments in this journey came with Marie Curie's discovery of radioactivity. Working in a cramped makeshift laboratory in Paris, Marie and her husband Pierre Curie made groundbreaking discoveries that would change science forever. In 1898, they discovered two new elements, polonium and radium, both of which played key roles in the development of nuclear science. Despite the personal cost, many of their experiments exposed them to harmful radiation, the effects of which were not well understood at the time. Marie Curie's work would forever alter the trajectory of scientific discovery. She famously declared, "One never notices what has been done. One can only see what remains to be done," a sentiment that encapsulated the relentless pursuit of knowledge that characterized the early pioneers of nuclear science. Meanwhile, in Germany, Albert Einstein was developing his theory of special relativity, which would become foundational in understanding the relationship between mass and energy. His famous equation, E equals mc2, revealed that even a small amount of matter could be converted into an enormous amount of energy. This discovery was crucial for understanding nuclear fission, the process at the heart of the atomic bomb. Einstein, however, would later express regret over the use of his discoveries in the development of nuclear weapons, stating, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." As these discoveries spread, physicists like Ernest Rutherford, Niels Bohr, and others built upon them, ultimately leading to the creation of the atomic bomb. What had begun as theoretical work in laboratory experiments would soon be used for purposes of mass destruction. As the world grappled with the aftermath of World War I, a dark political atmosphere began to envelop Germany. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, had placed crippling reparations on Germany, humiliating the country and leaving it in economic ruin. Social unrest and political instability surged throughout the Weimar Republic, which struggled to manage the widespread discontent. This turmoil provided the fertile ground for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, a movement that promised to restore Germany's prestige and power. Hitler's rhetoric, filled with nationalism and racial superiority, resonated deeply with the German people. With his incendiary speeches and promises of vengeance for the humiliation of Germany after World War I, Hitler quickly garnered support. As the Nazi Party consolidated power, Germany became a fascist state under the absolute control of Hitler. By 1934, Hitler had declared himself Führer, or the supreme leader of Germany, signaling the complete collapse of the democratic institutions in Germany and the rise of a totalitarian regime. While Hitler's expansionist policies and aggressive military ambitions posed an existential threat to Europe, another equally terrifying development was unfolding. Germany was on the brink of harnessing the power of the atom. The discovery of nuclear fission by scientists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann in 1938 in Berlin unlocked the possibility of a new and incredibly powerful weapon. It was clear that the Nazis were making strides in the development of atomic technology, a weapon that, if completed, could change the course of history and reshape the balance of power across the globe. As early as 1939, the possibility of a Nazi-controlled atomic bomb spurred considerable alarm within the Allied countries. The potential for the Nazis to use atomic power to fuel their war machine was deeply unsettling. The urgency of this threat led to the intervention of two of the most brilliant minds in physics, Albert Einstein and Leo Szilard. Fearing the consequences of Nazi atomic research, the two scientists sent a letter to U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt on August 2, 1939. In this letter, they warned of the possibility of Germany building an atomic bomb and emphasized the need for the United States to begin its own atomic research. Einstein, a pacifist by nature, was devastated by the destructive potential his theory had unlocked. He famously stated, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones," reflecting his deep regret at having contributed to the creation of such a powerful and devastating weapon. Despite his personal reservations, Einstein recognized the gravity of the situation. If the Nazis succeeded in their nuclear pursuits, the world would be thrust into an unprecedented level of destruction. This urgent letter prompted the creation of the Manhattan Project, a massive and secretive initiative aimed at developing an atomic bomb before Germany could. The project's primary objective was to ensure that the United States and its allies would possess the ultimate weapon of warfare before the Nazis could gain that power. The rise of the Nazis had shifted the geopolitical landscape of Europe, with the survival of the Allies and the preservation of global stability hanging in the balance. While the U.S. scrambled to mobilize its efforts under the Manhattan Project, Nazi Germany's own atomic research was being spearheaded by a group of scientists under the leadership of Werner Heisenberg. Heisenberg, a renowned physicist, had once been a student of Niels Bohr, who would later work with the Allies on their atomic project. The story of Heisenberg and Bohr, once colleagues in the scientific community, would later become one of the most complex and intriguing aspects of the atomic race during World War II. While Heisenberg was leading Germany's efforts to develop the bomb, Bohr and other scientists were aligning with the Allies to create their own. The German atomic program, known as the Uranium Club, was in full swing, and German scientists had made significant progress. However, there remains ongoing debate among historians as to whether Heisenberg intentionally slowed the development of Germany's atomic bomb. In a famous meeting in Copenhagen in 1941, Heisenberg had a cryptic conversation with Bohr, which left the latter with the impression that the Germans were much closer to success than they actually were. Some suggest that Heisenberg, aware of the catastrophic consequences of atomic weaponry, deliberately sabotaged the Nazi effort. Regardless of Heisenberg's motivations, it is clear that the Germans were not able to build an atomic bomb during World War II. This failure ultimately led to a crucial advantage for the Allies, allowing them to develop their own weapons first. The competition between the United States and Germany in the realm of nuclear physics was not just a scientific rivalry, it was a matter of survival, with the stakes higher than ever before. While Germany faltered in their pursuit of atomic weaponry, the United States forged ahead, pouring vast resources into the Manhattan Project and enlisting the brightest scientific minds of the era. The rise of the Nazi regime and the emergence of the atomic threat created an unprecedented sense of urgency. Germany's pursuit of the bomb cast a shadow over the Allied powers, prompting the U.S. to accelerate its own efforts. The political and military leaders of the time understood that whoever controlled the atom would control the future, and so the race to build an atomic bomb became not only a scientific race, but a race to determine the fate of the world. In response to the threat posed by Nazi Germany's atomic program, President Franklin D. Roosevelt authorized the creation of the Manhattan Project, a top-secret initiative to develop the first atomic bomb. The project was entrusted to a dedicated team of scientists led by J. Robert Oppenheimer, who would oversee the construction of the atomic bomb. Alongside Oppenheimer was General Leslie Groves, a no-nonsense military officer whose leadership and determination would prove crucial to the success of the project. The Manhattan Project was unlike anything the world had ever seen. The U.S. government poured resources into the project, employing over 130,000 people across various facilities, including the Los Alamos Laboratory in New Mexico, Oak Ridge in Tennessee, and Hanford in Washington. The scientists working on the project faced numerous challenges, both scientific and logistical. As they sought to harness the power of nuclear fission, they were tasked with building a weapon that could split the atom and release an unimaginable amount of energy. At Los Alamos, Oppenheimer and his team worked tirelessly to solve the problems inherent in building an atomic bomb. The scientific challenges were immense. How could they create a weapon that would unleash such devastating power while controlling the chain reaction of fission? The team experimented with various designs, including the little boy uranium bomb and the fat man plutonium bomb, each with its own set of complexities. Robert Feynman, a brilliant physicist known for his humor and infectious curiosity, was among the key figures working on the project. Feynman, like many others at Los Alamos, felt the weight of the responsibility on their shoulders, but also found moments of lightness, such as his famous pranks and attempts to crack safes containing classified documents. After years of intense work and numerous experiments, the project culminated in the Trinity test on July 16, 1945. The test took place in the desolate expanse of the New Mexico desert, and as the countdown to detonation began, the stakes were higher than ever. The success of the Trinity test marked the dawn of a new age, the atomic age, and provided the proof needed that the weapon worked. The detonation of the bomb caused an explosion so powerful that it created a blinding light and a mushroom-shaped cloud that rose into the sky. As Oppenheimer watched the explosion, he famously recalled a line from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The successful detonation of the Trinity test not only confirmed the power of the atomic bomb, but also set the stage for the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world had now entered an era where human civilization had harnessed the power to obliterate entire cities with a single weapon. This unprecedented display of destructive power set in motion the events that would change the course of World War II and leave a legacy that still impacts global politics and nuclear discourse today. In the early days of World War II, with the atomic race accelerating, the United States embarked on the Manhattan Project, a massive and secretive effort to develop the atomic bomb. Under the direction of General Leslie Groves and physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, the project would employ over 130,000 people, working across multiple locations, including Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, and Hanford. Oppenheimer, known for his intellectual brilliance and complex personality, was chosen to lead the project at Los Alamos. The challenges of developing an atomic bomb were immense. Scientists struggled to understand the intricacies of nuclear fission, and the materials needed for the bomb were scarce and difficult to obtain. Yet, through relentless work and scientific innovation, the project succeeded, culminating in the successful detonation of the Trinity test on July 16, 1945, in the New Mexico desert. The Trinity test was the world's first atomic explosion. As the blinding flash of light filled the sky, Oppenheimer famously recalled a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." The success of the test set the stage for the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the world would soon witness the full extent of the destructive power that had been unleashed. As the bombings approached, discussions were held between the Allies about the targets for the atomic bomb. Hiroshima was selected for its military significance, and Nagasaki was chosen as the second target after weather conditions forced a change. On August 6, 1945, Little Boy was dropped on Hiroshima, and 3 days later, Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. These two cities would be forever marked by the catastrophic impact of the atomic bombs, leading to immense loss of life and suffering. The survivors, known as hibakusha, bore witness to the indescribable horror of the atomic bomb, and their stories would be passed down through generations. In the years that followed, the legacy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki became a sobering reminder of the destructive power of nuclear weapons and a call for global disarmament.